Okay, that's the Sunday Papers, and now to our program guests, and we're joined now from Perth by the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Stephen Smith. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Barry.
If we can start with the death of a soldier in Afghanistan, that's now 6 deaths in the past 4 weeks.
Well, it's a tragedy for the family, the Buse family. It's also a tragic reminder for Scott Palmer's family, the funeral yesterday, but it's also a terrible reminder for all of the 17 families of our soldiers who've been killed in Afghanistan. It's a tragedy for them and a tragedy for the nation, but just a salutary reminder that Afghanistan is very difficult, very dangerous, but we continue to be committed to our mission in Afghanistan, which is to stare down international terrorism and to stop Afghanistan becoming, again, a breeding ground for international terrorism.
But what has changed that has led to a spike in these deaths? And is this the casualty rate that the country now needs to, I guess, to brace itself for?
Well, we were lucky and fortunate, Barry, in this sense that we didn't have a casualty for nearly 11 months, and now we've had a half a dozen in the space of 4 or 5 weeks. We do need to steel ourselves for further casualties. There are a couple of factors. Firstly, the so-called surge, the increased presence, has seen additional conflict, both in Oresgon and in Afghanistan generally. But secondly, a number of the deaths that we've seen, not just Australians, but the International Security Assistance Forces, have been by roadside bombs, and we know that the Taliban have become more expert, more sophisticated and more complex in the way in which they use these booby traps and the roadside bombs. So that's a particular hazard, and it's one that we are working very hard to combat against.
Okay, on the asylum seekers issue now, as it stands this morning, the prospect of East Timor as a processing centre, is that any more than just a government thought bubble?
No, Barry, we're in a conversation with East Timor. As the Prime Minister made clear at her speech last week, she had a conversation with President Ramos Horta. That was the start of the process. I've spoken on a couple of occasions now to my counterpart, Zacharias da Costa, East Timor's Foreign Minister. We'll be sending officials to East Timor in the course of this week to start a detailed discussion with East Timor about the prospect of a regional processing centre. We've got to try and find a regional solution to this very difficult problem, and we're going to work very hard with East Timor and with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and with the region generally to see whether we can effect that and achieve it.
So as it stands, East Timor is now the most likely